Hey, before we jump into the video, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has stuck around with me for the past few years, and happy holiday to those who celebrate. Make sure you stick around till the end of the video. Well, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this collection of videos. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today, I'll be going over all of the secrets and Easter eggs in the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Originally, Ocarina of Time was released back in 1998, and to this day is still considered to be one of the greatest games of all time. Ocarina of Time was eventually remade for the Nintendo 3DS back in 2011. Wow, it's already been 10 years since the remake. That's crazy. Well, hopefully soon, Nintendo can make an HD version for the Switch. And for the sake of today's video, for the most part, I'll be covering the original Nintendo 64 version of the game. Oh, and hey, if you guys don't mind, if you find these kind of videos interesting, can you hit the subscribe button? 98% of the people who watch my content are not subscribed to me. So, if you enjoy my content, why not just hit the subscribe button? It really helps me out. Well, with that being said, let's jump right into some secrets and Easter eggs. Before we even start up the game and get into it, the title screen actually has a secret in store for us. If you listen closely, you can hear these notes. If you have ever played Super Mario Bros. 3 or the original Legend of Zelda, you may recognize these as the slowdown version of the warp whistle. There's a little drawing outside of Link's house. Many people speculated that it may be foreshadowing the final encounter with Ganon. But what do you guys think it's there for? And while we're here in Kokiri Forest, did you ever find getting money for the Deku Shield in the beginning of the game a little bit tedious? Well, here's a few ways to speed up that process. There's 5 hidden rubies on side of the shop. You get another 5 for doing flips over these stones, and a couple other little secret ones hidden here and there. If you cut or accidentally blow up a sign, you can use Zelda's Lullaby to repair it. This is a reoccurring secret in future Zelda games. This is the first Zelda game to introduce gossip stones. These stones will tell you hints, secrets, lore, and even the time of day. But they actually do a lot more than that. You can interact with them many different ways to get multiple different results. This has been a recurring secret in the future titles. Getting lost in the Lost Woods is something that happened to all of us at one point in time. But instead of trying to remember all of these directions, what if there was an easier way? Well, there kinda is. There's 2 different methods. The first is being able to listen to the music. The music will stay the same if you are on the correct path. However, if you are near the wrong path, it will start to get quieter. The second method is to look for the light. The light is on the incorrect path, and if there is no light at all on a path, then that means it is the correct path. Speaking of the Lost Woods, did you know that you can actually kill the Skull Kid with a big Goron sword? Doing so, he will drop a big orange rupee upon death. But be aware, as all of the events of Majora's Mask will never occur. One of the guards who open the front gate will say the phrase, "It's a secret to everyone," a reoccurring phrase starting from the original Legend of Zelda game. Princess Zelda will also say, "It's a secret to everybody," upon meeting her for the first time. One of the most well-known Easter eggs is when meeting Zelda for the first time, you can see pictures and images of Mario characters on the windows of the castle. If you use a slingshot at the windows, a guard will throw a bomb at you. When Navi turns green in random locations like this, try playing your ocarina. For example, at this location in Hyrule Field, let's play the Song of Storms and see what happens. Ah, it's a Mega Fairy. You can't capture this one as it's superior to the other fairies. This one will restore magic and health. Speaking of making fairies spawn out of nowhere, if you let a butterfly land on a Deku stick, this is a lot harder than it looks, trust me, it will eventually turn into a fairy. If you spend enough time fighting the Stalfos in Hyrule Field at night, eventually a very large one will spawn that drops a blue rupee. This can also be done with other enemies in the games, such as levers and keys in the desert. And if you wear the bunny hood, the Stalfos won't come out and attack you at all. The laugh for stall children actually uses Phantom Ganon's laugh just sped up. Speaking of hanging out in Hyrule Field, if you wait until night and stand on the drawbridge while it gets pulled up, you can actually find a few hidden rupees. There's a pretty funny dialogue option when you talk to Princess Ruto while wearing the Zora mask as a kid. Many NPCs throughout the game will react differently with different masks on. Go on and try it yourself and see what you can come up with. If you play Epona's song in front of cows with an empty bottle, they will speak, tell you how it's a nice song, then give you a bottle of Lon Lon milk. Speaking of playing the ocarina, you can actually change the pitch or tone of the notes by using the D-pad and the control stick. In the 3DS version of the game at Lon Lon Ranch, there's a Skyward Sword image in one of the bedrooms upstairs. One of the most obvious secrets in Easter eggs is the emblem Malon wears is actually Bowser's face. Maybe she's just a fan of the Mario games. Talon and his big brother Indigo are obvious references to Mario and Luigi. Talon is big and round, wearing red and blue, and Indigo is tall and slim, wearing green. After saving Lon Lon Ranch from Indigo, you then have access to Malon's time trial minigame. If you get under 50 seconds in this minigame, you'll be rewarded with a cow back in Link's house. I wonder how they got a cow up there and how he's going to get down to eat. In Dodongo's cavern, there is an Easter egg that not many people know about. Once you reach this section of the cave, you'll come across a sign. Let's take a closer look at this sign. Wait a second. I've seen this before. This is the famous L is real sign from Super Mario 64. Did you know that baby Dodongos eat explosives just like King Dodongo? The keys or bats will not attack you when you have the skull mask on. This is very helpful in rooms like this, as those bats can get extremely annoying. And speaking of killing enemies, if you happen to shoot a light arrow at enemies, they will usually drop a big purple rupee. With early copies of this game, more specifically version copy of NTSC 1.1 or below, there are various changes to the game, such as hearing Islamic chants in the Fire Temple, Ganon's blood changing from red to green, the blood on the floor and the bottom of the well, and much more, like fixes with the text and cutscene skips. However, in Virtual Console releases of the game, versions 1.2 and above, they replaced the Gerudo Signs dungeon blocks and the Mirror Shield's crescent moon and star symbols with the Gerudo symbol that was used in Majora's Mask. The most common copies are usually NTSC 1.2. If you would like to check what version you have and the version differences, there will be a link down below. After collecting 20 gold Skulltula tokens, you'll be rewarded with the Stone of Agony, which resembles an N64 rumble pack. This is used to find secret holes and items by rumbling when you are near them. A viewer of my old video had pointed out an Easter egg to me that I had never known about. After rescuing the 4 carpenters in Gerudo Fortress, there is a woman who speaks to you. What's weird is, if you change which tunic color you are wearing, she will also change your dress colors to the one that you are wearing. For example, wear the blue tunic and she'll wear blue. A little bit of a more well-known Easter egg is that you can actually steal the fisherman's hat and if you lose his hat in the water, he won't wear it in the end credits. While we are here at the fishing hole, you can actually find the sinking lure in a couple different locations. You can use the Megaton hammer to flip Tektites over to stun them and get an easy kill. Walking backwards is the fastest method of transportation aside from glitches, Epona, and warping. That's why you will see a lot of speedrunners walking backwards. If you walk slowly or sneak around redeads, they won't actually notice you. Or additionally, you can use the Sun Song to stun any redeads. Great, now they won't be constantly humping my head. Okay, so I explained this heart piece in my original video and a lot of people didn't seem to understand it. Originally, I didn't want to go over any glitches in this video, but I just wanted to clear the air with this one. This is an out-of-bounds heart piece that can only be collected by using cheating methods. Most people were mistaking this as heart piece number 34, where you use the scarecrow to hookshot over to a chest.
However, that is a completely different, yet similar location to the other heart piece. Within the Spirit Temple, you come across this statue, which you can hookshot her chest. Oh, and there is another Skyward Sword image in the Gerudo Fortress, exclusive to the 3DS version of the game. If you do a flip over the Cauldron of Lava in Gerudo's Fortress, you'll be rewarded with some rupees. A little bit of a fun fact is that when they were testing Z targeting in this game, they imported an R-Wing from Star Fox. Modders and hackers have found a way to import these back into the game. Have you ever tried beating the Running Man's challenge from Gerudo's Valley to Kokori Forest? Well, I bet you haven't beat it, because it's actually impossible to beat it. Again, hackers and modders have tested this out with cheating methods, but it's actually programmed into the game to lose to him every single time. There is no possible way to beat him. Within Ganon's castle, you can find a secret room using the Lens of Truth. Within this room is a few fairies and Deku shrubs that'll sell you items. When fighting Ganondorf in Dead Man's Valley, you can use a bottle to reflect back his light attacks. This is originally a reference to how you can use the bug net to reflect back Agathim's attacks in A Link to the Past. However, many future Zelda titles have adapted this battle technique into its battles. Ganon is the only enemy in the game where Deku Nuts will actually do damage. All enemies in the game will get stunned by them instead. After the end credits, leave the screen idle for a little bit and you can hear some ocarina notes. These are the same notes that you created with the Scarecrow. This feature is not in the Virtual Console GameCube or 3DS versions of this game.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the most highly acclaimed Zelda games, A Link to the Past. This game is a lot of people's favorites, simply because a lot of people thought that this was Zelda's truest form, an amazing adventure from start to finish. But with that being said, what secrets and Easter eggs does Link to the Past have in stock for us today? To start things off, most people already know about the Mario painting in this house, but did you know that if you pull on it, rupees will fly out of it? While we're here in Kakariko Village, if we go inside this house and lift this pot, a chicken will pop out. However, if we throw some magic powder on it, it'll turn into a human and start talking to you. Speaking of throwing powder on things, if you put some magic powder on this green enemy, it will turn into some type of creature and say some random things to you. I usually like to include this in every Zelda video I make, but this was the very first Zelda game to introduce this ongoing event. But if you attack a cuckoo in this game, it attacks you back. And yes, even if you attack the skeleton ones in the Dark World, they will also do the same. In this swampy area, after draining the water, you can find some fish outside. If you throw them back into the water, they will thank you and give you rupees. Or, if you want, you can take them all the way to the bottle salesman in Kakariko Village, and he will give you even more rupees for them.
And yet another way to earn some extra rupees. If you pull on the Turtle Rock's feet, rupees will pop out of it. Saving the most well-known for last, and that is the secret of Chris Houlihan's room. If Link falls into a hole in a very weird way, the game's failsafe will put Link into this mysterious room filled with rupees on the floor and a sign that says, "My name is Chris Houlihan, and this is my top secret room. Keep it between us, okay?" In the Dark World, you can find this chest that follows you around. If you take it to this location, and then teleport into the Light World, the strange man next to this sign will open the chest for you, and in doing so, he will ask you to keep it a secret from everyone. A reference to the moblin found in the cave in Zelda 1 saying a similar line. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and welcome to October, the month of everything that is spooky and scary. Today we're going to be talking about Nintendo's spookiest game that they've ever made, and my personal favorite game of all time, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, originally released on the Nintendo 64 back in the year 2000. It was then remade for the Nintendo 3DS in 2015. I will mostly be taking a look at the Nintendo 64 version of the game today. However, I will throw in a few Easter eggs and secrets from the 3DS remake. Now look, I know you guys have been waiting for this video. It's been about 5 years since my original Majora's Mask video, which, by the way, is one of the most viewed Majora's Mask Easter egg videos on YouTube. So thank you all for that, I really appreciate it. But unfortunately, that video had so many spelling mistakes, editing mistakes, and it actually left out a lot of secrets and Easter eggs. So here I am 5 years later, updating the video with brand new secrets and Easter eggs that have never been discussed before here on YouTube. Now, let's try and get this video to be the newest, most viewed Majora's Mask Easter egg video on YouTube. You can help me first off by hitting the subscribe button, because I make these Easter egg videos all the time, and I'll be making more in the future. Hitting the like button, leaving a comment, and most importantly, sharing it with your friends and family. I will be going over every single Easter egg and secret in this game, some of which you may already know, and a few that I bet you have never known about. Well, with that being said, let's jump right into this video. The very first secret I would like to talk about is the multiple intro cinematics. The normal opening has been playing this entire time. However, to get the alternative one, you can simply just play with some settings and then go back to the start screen. Additionally, you can just let the title screen idle out and it will loop into this start screen. Within the clock tower, if you look in the water, you can see little clumps of what I can only assume is moss. However, if you take a closer look at them, some people say that you can kind of make out a Nintendo 64 controller. The Happy Mask Salesman carries quite a few mysterious masks on him, one of which is clearly Mario, one that kind of resembles Elvis, and one that is the same face that is used on the mirror shield that you find later on in the game. The man running the Curiosity Shop has an iron knuckle in the back of his shop. And in the Nintendo 3DS remake, if you go to Cafe's hideout and look through the peephole, he also has a statue of Rob the Robot. Speaking of weird items in shops, in the Nintendo 3DS version of the game, if you go to the Bomb Shop, you can notice a GameCube and a few other toys that Nintendo once created. If you pay close attention, you can notice butterflies will hang around some of the secret hole locations in the grass. And speaking of butterflies, this one's a bit hard to do, but if you can get one to land or touch a Deku stick, it will turn into a fairy. Most people already know this, but did you know that you can mess with gossip stones? Just like in Ocarina of Time, various items will have various results. This one's really tough and it kinda blew my mind, but within the texture of the grass in Termina Field, you can find a hidden image of Skull Kid. I'll have to show you a little bit of an edited version of this to kinda point it out a bit more. Any Star Fox fans here? Some of you may have already noticed this, but the Bremen, the Keaton, the Frog Mask, and the Bunny Hood all resemble the Star Fox crew in order: Fox, Falco, Peppy, Slippy, and Pigma. Did you know that depending on what form you are, you can change the color of the torch's base? The bean seller's tattoo is kanji for the word bean. Kotake is so short that she has to stand on a box to reach the counter. Did you know that the owner of the trading post is also the owner of the curiosity shop? He just wears a hairpiece to make himself look different. Aside from that, they are the same model and person. To further back this, the curiosity shop only opens at 10 p.m. and the trading post closes at 9 p.m. From 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. you cannot enter either store, and after 10 p.m. if you were to enter the trading post, you will be faced with someone different who claims that they only work there part-time. Another neat thing to notice is that on night of the third day, the trading post will still be open, yet no one and nothing will be inside. If you don't end up mailing Anju's letter, the postman will then mail himself a letter telling himself how good of a job he has done, as he is contemplating his final moments alive. If you go to the observatory and break some pots, you can find little pieces of paper on the ground with drawings on them, one of them being a dolphin. This is a reference to the Nintendo GameCube's codename, the Nintendo Dolphin. Speaking of the observatory, let's use the telescope to look around Termina. You can spot two guys that are trying to show you the location of hidden holes, and one guy in the top of a tree. One of the most interesting features of this game is how realistic some of the NPCs will act due to the unfortunate doom that they may face. The swordsman is a perfect example of this, as he normally comes off as a very brave person. However, during the final hours, you can find him hiding and cowering away in his back room. Whenever the moon gets closer and the earth shakes, you can see the little cow heads shake. You can also roll into the walls to get the same effect. Here's another secret that I never knew about. Apparently, there's an alternative fireworks cutscene that plays out only on the first 3-day cycle. To get this cutscene to occur, the player has to either be in the underground passage that leads to the Astral Observatory, or they have to be inside of the Astral Observatory. Have you ever noticed the image of a tiger on the back of Granny's chair? This is actually a reference to her pet tiger in Ocarina of Time. She can be found petting a tiger cub in the medicine shop in Kakariko Village. If you wear the Gorman Bros mask, it will change their facial expressions. Did you know that the Lon Lon Ranch actually reuses the same sign from Kakariko Graveyard in Ocarina of Time? On the 3DS version of the game, you can actually wear the Fierce Deity mask while you fish. I'm not sure why, but hey, I mean, if you want to fish like a deity, then so be it. There's also a secret fish you can catch. It's called the Lord Chapu Chapu, which is a direct reference to Lord Jabu Jabu from Ocarina of Time. Speaking of Ocarina of Time, Romani has the same pendant as Milan from Ocarina of Time. And this medallion is obviously in the shape of Bowser. This one may be a bit obvious, however, for those of you who have never 100% completed the game, you may not know about this. Have you ever wondered why the grass dances around like this? Well, it's because you need the Keaton mask. After the grass dances around a bit, a Keaton will appear and give you a quiz. After answering all questions correctly, he will reward you with a heart piece. When making your way through the Deku Palace for the first time, you might find yourself getting caught by the guards quite often. However, if you come back during night, you can actually see their line of sight. A little bit of a movement trick is if you spin off of a lily pad, you'll actually create more speed and distance to hop across the water. Sadly, this was nerfed in the 3DS remake. Goron Link in Zora Link is tall enough to stand, walk, and even roll in the southern swamp without drowning. And you can use the Zora Link's boomerang and Link's bow and arrow and a couple other items to kill the giant Octorok blocking your path. If you ground pound with the Goron, you can flip Tektites over. This is similar to the effect used by the Megaton Hammer in Ocarina of Time. And in the 3DS remake, if you go to the Goron village in the back of the room, on the left side you can see a little stone version of the Wiimote. The members of the Indiegogo play songs from previous Zelda games. Here, take a listen. The Ikanas Canyon River is actually a shortcut to the southern swamp. Speaking of the Ikana area, you can find this paper airplane on top of one of these posts. I'm not really sure what this is here for or the point of it, but it's just so strange and out of place. I wonder what this was meant for. If you interact with NPCs while wearing different masks, you will get some slightly different dialogue. And if you wear the Kamaro's mask, it will make the Scarecrow dance. If you wear the Deku or the Goron transformation masks, the Gibdos will not attack you. However, if you wear the Zora's mask, they will attack you. I'm assuming Zora Link is a similar model to Ocarina of Time's adult Link, so they just reuse the same animation. However, I think because Deku and Goron Link are different shapes and sizes, they didn't have the time to create separate animations. If you wear the Gibdos mask, you can make Redead's dance. If you wear the captain's hat during the fight scene, this cutscene will play out. And if you use the Bremen mask, they'll march along with you. On night of the third day, if you order the Skull Childs to break open the grave, you can find Dampé. After playing his little minigame challenge, he will run off in a panic after being spooked by a ghost, and you will be rewarded with a bottle. However, let's see where he went. Well, I never knew his house had a secret entrance to the bottom of the grave, and Dampé is so scared that he's hiding underneath his bed. In this segment, I'm just going to cover a couple secret rubies that you may or may not already know about. If you shoot the targets outside of the Honey and Darling shop, you'll be rewarded with a few rupees. Speaking of the Honey and Darling shop, if you jump across those same targets, you can find a chest with a silver ruby hidden inside of it. There are two chests in South Clocktown that hold even more rupees, one of which is right in this corner. And the other is being on top of this pillar that you can only get to on the final day. In the laundry area of the game, you can see 3 red rupees behind this gate. I never knew how to get these. Well, it turns out that you have to wait until night of the second day, and then they will flow down the stream for you, ready for you to collect. Outside of the town walls, you can find a stray bird flying around. If you play a temple song for him, he will drop a trail of rupees. Near the Snow Peak entrance, there's an image of Skull Kid and a few notes on the wall. If you play these notes, a few rupees will pop out of the wall. If you make the jumps around Termina Field, each one will reward you with a few rupees. There is a bird near the entrance of Milk Road who will steal important items like bottles from you. However, if you attack him enough, he will drop a massive orange rupee. If you knock down the man in the tree near the observatory, you can steal his 2 red rupees. At night, if you shoot the skullback creatures with a light arrow, you can get a large rupee. If you jump into the waterfalls near the southern entrance, you will also find a blue rupee. And lastly, shooting lanterns will also cause rupees to drop. Here are a few Ocarina secret songs. By playing the same 3 notes of the Song of Time, you can actually jump ahead to either dawn or night of the next day. And if you reverse the Song of Time, you will slow down the flow of time. If you dance with the Scarecrow, you can also advance time even faster. And to the Granny at the Stockpot Inn, you can also advance time even faster. Just like in Ocarina of Time, using the D-pad and the control stick, it will change the pitch of the notes you play. If you cut a sign and you break it, you can play the Song of Healing to repair that sign. If you play the Song of Storms near a Gossip Stone, a big fairy will come out. This fairy is a bit different than most because not only does it heal you, but it also restores your magic as well. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be showcasing all of the secrets and Easter eggs in The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. The Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker originally came out on the Nintendo GameCube in 2002, and then it was fully remastered in HD for the Nintendo Wii U in 2013. And hopefully it will come out on the Nintendo Switch, but who knows. So it's been almost 20 years since the original release of the game, and almost 10 years since the HD remake. Man, I feel really old now. I remember when that remake was first announced. Let's move on before I start growing some gray hairs. Did you know that on the original GameCube version of the game, that the title screen will change depending on the time of day? Unfortunately, this was removed in the HD remake. The Choo-Choos are an interesting enemy that are unfortunately only found in a few Zelda games. Please Nintendo, put these guys in Breath of the Wild too. But anyways, the noise that they make in Wind Waker is actually sped up, and I believe it's backwards Japanese. It's 2 Japanese men arguing about each other's appearances. Apparently, one is making a comment how the other is balding, but I'm not too sure on this one as I don't really speak Japanese. The Wind's Requiem, probably the most used song in the game, has the same up, left, right notes as Epona's song in Ocarina of Time. And speaking of another song, the Wind God's song will repair any broken sign. This is a reoccurring secret in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, as you can also play songs to repair broken signs. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, make sure you leave a like and to hit that subscribe button, as I plan to make more secrets and Easter egg videos for other Zelda games in the near future. I am also really trying hard to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I really hope you guys can help me reach that goal. Well, anyways, let's get back to the video. If you randomly hit Orca 6 times, he will get pissed and knock you away. However, if you hit him 1,000 times during the training, he will be impressed with you and then break the fourth wall by asking you if your index finger is not numb from holding it down for so long. If you look closely at Phantom Ganon's sword, you can see some Hylian text on it, which translates to Zabora Gabora, the blacksmiths in Majora's Mask. But that's not the only Majora's Mask reference in this game. If you go to the Nintendo Gallery, the shopkeeper Karlov has a few masks from Majora's Mask hanging on the wall. We have the Bunny Hood, the All Knights mask, the Goron mask, and the Keaton mask. He also has a few other objects that reference other Zelda games, like the Postman book, some Moo Moo milk, and one of Trio's drums, all of which are from Majora's Mask. Man, this guy's a really big fan of Majora's Mask. Maybe even a bigger fan than I am. Aside from that, he also has a couple objects from The Wind Waker, like Tetra's pirate ship, the goddess statue, and a submarine. And lastly, he also has an unfinished sculpture on his desk that resembles Saria from Ocarina of Time. While we're here, let's check out some figurines. The Phantom Ganon figurine references how you can play Dead Man's Volley with a bottle. And if you check out the figurine with the rats that hold bombs, you'll find out that they're actually called bomb chews, which is a reoccurring item from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. But before we leave this place, there is an Octorok from the original Legend of Zelda game on Manny's bag. If you go to the cafe on Windfall Island and you translate the menu, it's advertising Lon Lon milk, Deku nut cake, and Zora coffee. Deku nut cake. I don't know, man, that just doesn't sound appealing to me. Have you ever just looked up at the pretty night sky in Wind Waker? Well, if you're an astrology nerd, you may have noticed some real-world constellations like the Little Dipper and the Orion's Belt. In most Zelda games, we have some chickens or cuckoos hanging around the villages, but not in Wind Waker. Instead, we got some pigs, and just like cuckoos, if you attack them long enough, the pigs will hunt you down and kill you. However, if you want to touch the pigs in a less harmful way, you can pick up the piggies and throw them into the water and watch them swim back to land. Oh, and look at this little guy. He's so scared that he continues to fart. Go take a bath, Stinky! And speaking of pigs, if you attack Link the pig on Outset Island, he will do 3 hearts of damage per attack, which is more than most enemies in the game. And if you're on hero mode, he will do 6 hearts of damage.
Now that's a lot of damage!
Have you ever noticed that when you stand still, Link's eyes will give you a hint at something nearby? Did you know that you can actually steal items by grapple hugging enemies? You can also do it to Zelda during the final boss fight too. Just don't try this on hero mode because it will not work. While you're in Hyrule Castle, you may have noticed behind the Master Sword that there are murals from the 7 Sages, Ganon, and the Triforce on the back wall. Does this Rito look familiar to you? Well, if he does, then you may have played Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, as he looks very similar to the Postman or the Running Man from those games. His figurine further segments this reference too. Speaking of Ritos, did you know that they were originally Zoras? The Zoras evolved over a span of a century into the Ritos after the events of the Great Flood. This was due to the unnatural water created by the gods, which made it uninhabitable for Zoras. And apparently the Koroks are descendants of the Kokori children from Ocarina of Time. If you ever want a few extra chances at the minigame on Windfall Island, just walk behind the cardboard cutouts to find a few extra rupees. On Outset Island, everyone knows the lady who walks around carrying the pot on her head. So go on ahead and break her pot. But just be aware after talking to her, she will take 10 rupees from you for the damages. And while we're still here on Outset Island, have you ever noticed that the song has notes from the Kokori Forest? And Windfall Island has Kakariko Village notes mixed into it. In every Zelda game, Link has been silent aside from a few grunts and moans. We have never actually heard his voice. However, this is the only Zelda game where we can actually hear his voice. While controlling this little statue guy, Link will say, "Come on," and "Over here." In the French version of Wind Waker, Tetra's name is Dazel, an anagram for Zelda, which is foreshadowing the plot twist later on in the game. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD added a few new features other than just a fresh coat of paint. One of these features is the ability to take selfies with the Picto box. But what most people don't know is that by pressing different directions on the control stick, Link will actually make different facial features. After collecting the 3 spirit orbs, there are 3 statues that you place the spirit orbs on. Each statue is a different Pikmin from the Pikmin series, and the text at the bottom of the statue translates to Din's Fire, Nehru's Love, and Fiori's Wind.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at all of the secrets and Easter eggs in The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. If you guys happen to like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe so that you can stay up to date with my most recent Easter eggs videos. Well, this game has a ton of Easter eggs and secrets, so let's jump right into it. As Wolf Link in Castletown, you'll notice the guards approaching with their weapons raised. Despite their fierce appearance, they're surprisingly terrified. Use this attack to make them flee in fear, causing them to drop valuable items like rupees and hearts. Did you know that the fortune teller doesn't actually speak gibberish? She's speaking in reverse. In the Wii U remake of this game, a visit to this shop in Castletown reveals some images from Breath of the Wild on the walls. These references were included in the game before Breath of the Wild was even released or had a name. If you use your lantern in Agatha's castle, the bugs will swarm around you, just like in real life where insects are attracted to light. Be cautious where you step though, some of these bugs might get kicked around. Hold on a second, does this one have a Triforce symbol on its back? Does this minigame owner seem familiar or give off some type of sketchy vibes? Well, if so, it might be because he resembles Tingle. The developers originally wanted Tingle to be in Twilight Princess, but found out that he didn't really fit the game's serious tone. So they created this character that was inspired by Tingle instead. Well, this one's not really a secret, but it's definitely adorable. You can pick up and play with the dog in Castletown.
Aw, who's a good boy? Here's an interesting one. If you examine the engravings on the walls around Castletown, you'll spot several Zelda species, including Ritos, which don't actually make any appearance in this game. A very well-known Easter egg, Friar the Cannon Guy has a bullet bill on his arm. But let's check on his brother Falby. There's a switch on the top of his house that when activated, it will stop the chest from the top platform from spinning, making it easier to grab. After paying Falby's minigame, instead of actually participating, let's try tossing all of his cuckoos off the cliff and see what his reaction is. And while we're still on the topic of cuckoos, try attacking them and see what happens. Usually attacking them in Zelda games results in a hostile response. But in Twilight Princess, we actually get to play as one. That's a very unique twist. Few people know about the marble minigame in this fishing shop. And even fewer realize that if you try to cheat at it, the shopkeeper will call you out. And while we're here, why don't we take a look at some of the photos on the walls? You might be able to spot a familiar face, the fisherman from Ocarina of Time. When you talk to Pretty the Bird, he has some rather rude comments for Link and even the shopkeeper. If you roll into his cage or any other part of the store enough times, you'll get kicked out. On returning, the shopkeeper will make you apologize. Have you ever noticed that every time Link enters the fishing hole, the seasons change? It's subtle, yet an interesting detail of the game. And with each season, different fish are likely to spawn. And while we're here, if Link looks out of the window while it's raining, the shopkeeper will comment on how the rainy weather is actually ideal for fishing.
And did you know that Henna has a boyfriend? Or at least had one. Or maybe even a few of them.
And let's go fishing now. What's this? You can actually catch a skullfish? I actually had no idea. If Link uses a bomb arrow to destroy one of Isa's jars, she will demand a 10 rupee payment as compensation. The Dongos still eat bombs, just like they did in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. Take a look at these paintings around Snow Peak ruins. You might recognize some familiar faces from previous Zelda games. Not quite an Easter egg or a secret, but a fun little tidbit. There's a mirror in Link's basement. It's unclear of why he would need it here, but it's a very weird and interesting detail. The Uku are one of the weirdest additions to this game. Their home, the City in the Sky, was inspired by the Otherworld painting. Additionally, their name Uku is a nod to the hex code used for Link's outfit in the original Legend of Zelda game. The children of Ordon Village are impressively good at dodging objects, even from a distance. At the bomb shop, there's a strict no lantern rule. Well, let's break it. The shopkeeper isn't too pleased, but what if we head upstairs? Well, it still seems like the shopkeeper finds a way to extinguish the flames. The postman is an odd character, but undeniably dedicated to his job. He has a habit of getting lost or hiding in various places throughout Hyrule. You can steal from Trill's shop, but prepare for him to call you a thief and attack you afterwards. This may be a nod to Link's Awakening, where you can steal from the shopkeeper, and it results in a similar reaction. Additionally, if you do pay him but you don't pay him the right amount, he'll call you a cheapskate. For some easy rupees, you can shoot this bell in Kakariko Village to earn a silver rupee. And did you know that there's an orange rupee hidden behind this house in Ordon Village? Back in Ordon Village, you can use the water to make the baby pumpkins grow. Once they're ripe, pick them up and toss them and you can find rupees in them. They say money doesn't grow on trees, but maybe it grows in pumpkins instead. Across Hyrule, you'll encounter these flocks of birds that, when defeated, will drop a substantial amount of rupees. Here are a few locations. And let's see what this golden cuckoo has to say. Okay, very strange. The mysterious skeleton who teaches Link new techniques is actually Link from Ocarina of Time. Although it's not explicitly stated in this game, Hyrule Historia confirms this connection. In the beginning of the game, you learn to use hawk grass, which is only used a very few times in the game. However, what a lot of people don't know is that you can use the hawk grass to pick up a cuckoo. While in wolf form, you can communicate with various animals and bugs. Let's have a chat with Epona and see what she has to say. Here's a useful tip. You can mount Epona from behind to get a quick jump start. Oh, and speaking of Epona, the Epona song remains the same as previous games. Many of the Howling Stone songs are either straight from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, or they bear very similar notes to them. While chasing the Skull Kids around Lost Woods, did you notice that Saria's song was softly playing in the background? The tune that plays in the morning bears a striking resemblance to the same tune in Ocarina of Time. When Rutella, the Queen of Zora, speaks, listen to the music in the background. It's actually a remake of the Serenade of Water from Ocarina of Time. As you get closer and closer to Ganon, the piano gets louder and louder, just like in Ocarina of Time, and it's the same song too. And just like in other Zelda games, while playing Dead Man's Volley against possessed Princess Zelda, you can use the bottle to reflect the orbs back at her. When fighting Ganon, the usual strategy is to use Wolf Link, but you can also defeat him with normal Link by timing an arrow perfectly to knock him down. And lastly, Ganon can be distracted by a fishing rod. And that's all I have for you guys today. If I happen to miss anything, please drop a comment below so that I can include it in an updated version of this video. I'd love to hear which Easter egg or secret was your guys' favorite, or if you happen to discover something new today that you didn't know about before. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day today.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about, in my personal opinion, the most underrated Zelda game. And the very first Zelda video game I have ever played. The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap. This game came out in 2004 and honestly it still holds up super well to this day. The graphics are fantastic, the gameplay is great, and the story is amazing. With that being said, let's check out all of the secrets and Easter eggs in The Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap. To start things off, throughout the game, you may see some familiar enemies, like Bob-ombs and Lakitus. The Zelda franchise is no stranger to stealing some Mario enemies. And the same goes for sounds, like when you pour water on a vine, it plays a similar sound to when vines grow in Super Mario Bros. When using the Ocarina of Wind, a familiar tune will play. This sound has probably been used elsewhere, however, here are just a couple examples. If you have ever played Super Mario Bros. 3, or the original Legend of Zelda, Mr. Left is a reference to Dr. Right from SimCity,
Interestingly enough, Dr. Wright also makes an appearance in Link's Awakening. Did you know that Vati has the same, if not a very similar laugh to the Happy Mask salesman from Majora's Mask? And while we're talking about Majora's Mask, as you enter the mayor's room for the first time, Ezlo states there's something fishy about this room, which is pretty interesting as there's nothing of real importance here. Unless you take a look at all the masks on the wall and the fact that the mayor was renting a book called A History of the Masks. Either this mayor is about to become the Happy Mask salesman, he's a fan of the Happy Mask salesman, or he is the Happy Mask salesman and he needs to do some research on an interesting mask he could have stumbled upon. Keep in mind, this game does take place before the events of Majora's Mask. So, this could be the Happy Mask salesman before the events of Majora's Mask and before Skull Kid steals this mask. He could be doing research about how dangerous Majora's Mask is. This is a little bit of a long shot, however, it's a very interesting and neat theory. Speaking of library books, one of the books in the library translates to Triumph Forks, a play on words for Triforce. This is also used in The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. This one is pretty interesting in my opinion. At some point in the game, you come across the three oracles, Din, Faori, and Nehru. They do play bigger parts in other Zelda games, like the Oracle games. However, they don't play a big part in a game like this. This time, they're just here to make a quick cameo. After fusing Kingstones with the girls, Gorman decides that he wants to rent out some houses to some females. At this point, you have an option. You can choose 2 out of the 3 girls to move into the houses. There will be a blue house and a red house. So, respectively, let's move the blue oracle, Nehru, into the blue house, and the red oracle, Din, into the red house. Now, after doing this, the green oracle, Faori, will not have a house to move into, thus abruptly ending the side quest. It may be a long shot, but this could possibly be referencing about how both Nehru and Din got their own respective games, the Oracle of Seasons and Time, while Faori's game was cancelled back in development. This one might not be a secret or an Easter egg, but I thought it was a pretty neat reference. The Shoemaker and his plot points are actually inspired by the Elves and the Shoemaker story, where the Shoemaker would fall asleep and the elves would make the shoes. And that's about all I got for you guys today. If I happen to miss any secrets or Easter eggs, please let me know down below in the comments. And if you happen to learn about a few new ones, let me know which one down below in the comments, and leave a like and subscribe too, as I plan to make more secrets and Easter eggs in other Zelda games. Well, with all that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day today. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I am extremely excited for Skyward Sword HD. So excited, in fact, that I'm going to be giving away 1 free copy to a lucky viewer. All you gotta do is click the link in the description or in the pinned comment. Make sure you're subscribed, and then you're all set and entered to win. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword is such an important game to me. This was the very first Zelda game that I was actually able to play around its release date. I had just started getting into Zelda and becoming a fan around this time. And I remember even watching the commercials for this game on TV and thinking it was so awesome, and I couldn't wait to play it. A year or 2 later, I remember getting this game for Christmas, and I was so extremely happy. This game was just so fantastic. It was an amazing 25th anniversary game that really encapsulates the Zelda franchise as a whole by referencing key moments from past games in so many different ways. So without further ado, here are some secrets and Easter eggs in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword that you may have not known about. One of the very first trailers of Skyward Sword, we hear a song playing in the background. We later come to find out that this song is called The Ballad of Goddess, which, if you reverse it, is Zelda's Lullaby from Ocarina of Time. During one of the earlier cutscenes, Olin mentions that it's the 25th anniversary of the Knights Academy, which is a reference to Zelda's 25th anniversary. The hand in the bathroom could be a reference to the hand in Majora's Mask, where when you give him a paper, he will reward you with a heart piece, whereas in Skyward Sword, when you give it paper, it will eventually reward you with gratitude crystals. Both the Kikwi Hermit in Farron Woods and the Perella in Lake Floria say it's a secret to everybody, which is a reference to the Moblin in the original Legend of Zelda game. When flying around the sky, sometimes you can encounter 3 other knights wearing red, blue, and green tunics. These are the tunic colors in Ocarina of Time. And, just like in Ocarina of Time, you can mess with gossip stones to get various results. After getting the hookshots, you can sneak into Zelda's room and you can find a little Tingle doll. It's quite a shame he was not actually put in this game. Could you imagine Tingle in Skyward Sword? Zelda's father looks really similar to the Light Sage in Ocarina of Time. They have a lot of features that resemble each other. He also shares a name with the Light Sage's alternate form, Kepora Gabora, the owl. He also laughs the same as the owl, which further segments this reference. The great spirit of the skies, Levias, shares a similar image to the windfish from Link's Awakening. Both are very large flying whales in the sky. Levias is also infested with parasites, similarly to Jabu Jabu in Ocarina of Time, who also has a similar appearance to the windfish. In the Lanayru shipyard, where you fight the second Mulder Arch, there are several images on the wall. If you walk up to one of them, it will tell you a few different phrases. One of them being, "Only you can warn your co-workers of an oncoming pirate attack," a reference to Smokey the Bear's slogan, "Only you can prevent wildfires." In Skipper's Retreat, there is a reference to the Titanic. The Lanayru dragon gives Link a nickname, LD Link 16. LD stands for the Lanayru Desert. Link is, well, obviously Link's name, and Skyward Sword is the 16th main series game in the Legend of Zelda franchise. The Bamboo Island main theme is Ocarina of Time's Lon Lon Ranch. During the minigame, the music that plays is similar to the minigame house in A Link to the Past. The members of the Lumpy Pumpkin are similar to the Resistance members from Twilight Princess. The lowest walls of the sealed grounds have images from the intro cutscenes. When the goddess statue drops to the ground, you can look up at the ceiling and see a broken Triforce and the goddess medallions from Ocarina of Time. Just a heads up, the next few secrets and Easter eggs are trending on some spoiler territories. If you would like to, please skip ahead to the timestamp shown on screen. I know the game's about 10 years old, but some people are going to be playing this game for the very first time soon, so I'd rather not spoil their experience. The Song of Hero is similar to the main theme of the original Legend of Zelda. But in the final Silent Realm, it has Hyrule Field notes mixed into it. During Girahim's attack, the Bokoblin horns sound similar to the Mirror Warp in A Link to the Past. During the Demise fight, the music that plays is similar to Ocarina of Time when Ganon is playing the piano. Also, Demise gets distracted by the net, and you can reflect his beams back at him, which is a reoccurring secret in the Legend of Zelda games. Throughout the game, you can find multiple different signs. Extremely dedicated fans have deciphered this Hylian text and has translated some of the signs in the game. Hear what they say. In the Academy's kitchen, you can break pots, something you typically do in a Zelda game. However, this old lady's finally not having it with Link, and after a while she'll get really mad at you and kick you out. Gratitude crystals have a similar look to Sky Bits from Super Mario Galaxy, which both of them seem to be based off of candy in Japan. In Groos's room, you can find a picture of Link on his punching bag. There is a secret patch of kittens and flowers. This is a really great place to go when you just need to relax. Just don't go here during the night. It will not be a fun and relaxing time. Beetle actually has a secret exit in his airship. If you just don't buy anything from him, he'll just complain about how heavy you are and he will kick you out. This is probably the most obvious one in this video, but sitting will heal you, and if you sit long enough, Link will fall asleep. And another very obvious one is each shopkeeper has their own version of the bazaar theme. This one's a bit more hidden though, but if you sneak into Zelda's room at night, before you get into her room, you can see Gipora taking a bath. Quit looking at him, you perv. If you shoot this bell with an item, it will drop a rupee. If you reverse Fi's voice lines, you can kind of make out some mumbled Japanese. And lastly, you can play the harp during the credits. You just press A and swing the remote. Well, that's about all I got for you guys. Again, if I happen to miss any, please let me know down below in the comments, as I would like to do an updated video on this after the HD version of this game drops. So, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified for when that video comes out. Well, with all that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day today. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at A Link to the Past's official sequel, A Link Between Worlds. This 2013 sequel returned Zelda back to its original formula in the sense of completing dungeons in almost any order you want. This game was such an interesting Zelda game because even though they returned to this original formula, A Link Between Worlds had Link transforming into a painting and traversing the walls of Hyrule. But with that being said, let's merge right into all of the secrets and Easter eggs in A Link Between Worlds. To start things off, before you even boot up the game, if you blow on the screen, you can see a painting of Link hiding behind one of these walls. Did you know that Ravio's outfit is actually referencing when Link first goes into the Dark World in A Link to the Past and becomes a bunny? Towards the top right corner of the Hyrule map, if you walk through this waterfall, you can find a Phoenix that will offer you a blue rupee. After doing so, the Phoenix will say, "Keep it a secret to everyone," a reference to the moblin found in the cave in Zelda 1 saying a similar line. This moblin has been referenced all throughout the Zelda series, but it is not the only time that this game references this Easter egg. After rescuing the thief girl from the thieves' hideout, you can find her in a cave south of the vacant house. She will thank you for your efforts by rewarding you with a chest, but asks you to keep it a secret from everybody. And another reference to Zelda 1 is the lakeside item seller says this line. And if you reverse this line, it says, "Buy something, will ya?" A reference to the item seller from Zelda 1. Now, let's merge into some walls and see what we can find. The most obvious reference is Majora's Mask on Ravio's wall. For the longest time, people claimed that this was Nintendo teasing that Majora's Mask 3DS was going to come out soon. At the time, it took them forever to announce Majora's Mask 3D. If you merge into this wall, some people think that this is Makar's mask from the Wind Waker. You can wear a cuckoo's head, some lipstick, and much more. Let me know what else you guys can find by merging into the walls. The milk bar has a picture of a loft wing and an ancient robot from Skyward Sword on the wall, as well as Makar's violin. This one is a tiny bit of a spoiler, but you can find Ravio's journal in the vacant house with hero mode on, and this explains briefly why he left Princess Hilda. If you reverse the Lorule Castle theme and change its pitch a little bit, you can hear the Hyrule Castle theme. Hello everyone and welcome back to another Zelda month. Starting off this year's Zelda month, I'm going to be bringing you guys an all new video on the secrets and Easter eggs in the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake for the Nintendo Switch. Wow, what a title of a video game. To start things off, I'm going to show you a few of the newer Easter eggs that you may not already know about. Before you even start the game, you can rename the save file to a few different names to get a few different remixes of songs. If you name it to Zelda, you can get a remix of the Zelda theme. If you name it Marin, you can get a remix of Marin's song. If you name it Totaka-ke, you can get Totaka's song. In the original version of the game, you can also name the file to Lolo and Moise to get other secrets, but I guess they took that out of the remake. Inside the trendy game, there's a statue of what looks to be like a chibi Loftwing from Skyward Sword, but I don't know, I think it's just a bird. Oh, and there's a statue of the little Zora enemies in this game as well. On the other hand, a brand new addition to the remake is these new little Mario figurines you can collect at the trendy game, and there's an entire set of these guys as well. Each one has their own little spot in people's houses throughout the village. Here's the entire collection. But there's a little something special about the ones in the old man's house. They seem to be the water ones, and they tend to reference another Nintendo video game. After you've acquired the magnifying lens from an extremely lengthy trading quest, you can go into the painter's house and talk to him, and just kind of see what happens for yourself. And if you go next door, you can also see a rubber cuckoo. In the original versions of the game, you could sprinkle a little bit of magic dust on certain objects and enemies and they would react a little bit differently. Like this blob, for example. If you sprinkle some dust on him, he will grow big eyes and tell you that he is a changed blob. And if you keep talking to him, he'll tell you how there's 3 hidden songs in this game. After talking to him though, why don't you hit him with your boomerang? You can stun him, and you might notice while he's stunned, you can actually pick him up and carry him around with you, but only for a very short distance. If you sprinkle some dust on this pile of bones, he'll tell you where a nearby heart piece is located. And lastly, if you sprinkle a little bit of dust onto the ghost's grave, he will tell you to knock it off before he curses you. If you go back where the walrus was originally found and play Marin's song again, he'll pop back out of the water thinking it's Marin, but then he realizes it's just Link and he leaves. Moving on in the video, we have a few returning Easter eggs that were in the original. If you sit in Richard's house for about 2 minutes, you can hear Tataka's song again. Normally throughout the game, you can call the old man by using the phones throughout the region. However, if you use his phone to call someone, you'll get someone different. Someone by the name of Bucket Mouse. I wonder who that is. We all know by now if you attack cuckoos in almost any Zelda game, they'll eventually fly at you and kill you. But what if we attack the cuckoos in the hen keeper's house? Have you ever wondered how to kill these annoying little electric ball enemies? Well, just throw your boomerang at them, and if you're not on hero mode, they'll drop fairies too. In the second dungeon, the Bottle Grotto, the music is a remix of the Dark World dungeon from The Link to the Past. But that's not all, because about halfway through the soundtrack, it turns into a remix of the Ghost House from Super Mario World. This dungeon is also the only place that you can run into Boo Buddies, which are an obvious reference to Boos from Mario. At many various points throughout this game, you'll probably notice that a lot of these enemies are just direct references to those that are found from the Mario franchise. You'll normally find those enemies in these little underground sections, and in this underground section, it's actually a remix of the Super Mario Bros. Underground theme. The very first item you receive for the trading quest is the Yoshi doll, which is obviously a reference to Yoshi. At some point in the trading quest, you have to give Mr. Right, who in itself is a reference to another Nintendo character by the same name, he will get a letter of a girl named Christine, but it's actually just a picture of Princess Peach. If you bring Bow Wow to Kiki the monkey, they'll actually fight and Kiki will run away. Just like in the original game, you can steal from the shopkeeper, but be careful when doing this, because he will kill you as you re-enter the shop, and everyone in the game will now call you a thief. After the third dungeon in the game, Marin joins Link on his quest for a little bit. During this brief moment together, you can experience a few secret cutscenes and dialogue options. But before experiencing those, as soon as Marin begins to follow you, you can notice that the music changes from the normal overworld theme to a remixed version of the Legend of Zelda theme. For the rest of this section, I'll just sit back and let you guys see for yourself all of the unique and secret events you may have missed while with Marin. If you use Marin's song where these little bunny enemies are, they'll die instantly. After you get the second sword upgrade, Link will begin to shoot beams out of his sword when he's at full health. This is a reference dating all the way back to the very first Zelda game, where the same exact thing would happen. Level 8 Turtle Rock's map is actually just in the shape of an 8-bit turtle. If you walk into the checkpoint in the room, it has the same exact layout as well. And here's a big ol' spoiler warning right here, as if you have not finished the game, I highly recommend you go and do that before watching the end of this video. Okay, well, with that warning out of the way, let's finish up this video. During the final boss, you may notice something strange. During the second stage of the fight with the final boss, he will turn into Aghanim from A Link to the Past. And the next phase, he'll turn into Moldorm, which is just the first boss of this game, and it's the third boss of A Link to the Past. And finally, the next phase is just Ganon from A Link to the Past as well. Hello everybody and welcome to Zelda Month. That's right, a whole month dedicated to Zelda videos. Back in 2011, Peanut Butter Gamer created the trend of dedicating November to Zelda, and now a lot of content creators, such as myself, have jumped on this bandwagon trend 7 years later and are still making videos in November dedicated to Zelda. So with that little introduction being said, let's kick off this amazing month of Zelda with some Breath of the Wild secrets and Easter eggs. Starting off this video is some secrets you may or may not know about, such as, did you know that you can scare NPCs by wearing the Ganon or Dark Link outfit? They kind of just jump in fear as if they're about to get attacked, but then they just realize that it's just Link behind that. Did you know that you can actually swim faster by not wearing any clothes, armor, or gear? Speaking of being naked, some NPCs such as Hestu and Paya act a little bit different if you talk to them with no clothes on. If you notice Paya acting flustered when Link talks to her with no clothes on, well, that might be because she low-key has a crush on Link. It's kinda hinted at within her diary. But that's not the only secret that Paya has. She kinda has another secret that she's a little bit embarrassed about. Everybody already knows that when taking selfies in this game, that you have a few different poses you can choose from by using the analog stick. However, did you know that holding down ZL or ZR you can get 4 more new poses? And on top of that, if you unequipped your shield, you can do even more poses, such as the one from Skyward Sword. This one might not be much of a secret, but more of attention to detail. If you died from some sort of elemental attack, the game over screen will correspond its color to whichever attack you died from. Did you know that when you jump during your stamina bar being red, you jump almost twice the distance as you normally would? If you drop a rusty weapon near a rock Octorok, wow, say that 5 times fast, he will suck it up and spit it back at you brand new. It's a really nice trick when you need a strong weapon fast. After completing the extremely long and annoying side quest from the ground up, you will now be able to visit Terry Town and interact with its NPCs, one of which, named Garante, will sell you a special equipment such as a Nintendo Switch shirt and other hard to get items in the game. Did you know that Ganon's horse is actually in the game and you can ride him and keep him as well? Not only Ganon's horse is in the game, but Zelda's horse is in the game as well. You can keep her and ride her as well. At various stable locations, you can find stray dogs, and if you feed them some food, they might just show you where a chest with some secret items is laying around nearby. But something that's kind of funny to watch is if you go to open up one of these chests without wearing any leg armor, Link will stub his toe trying to open the chest. There's an NPC hanging around one of the shrines named Magda, and if you continuously destroy her flowers, you'll get a pretty funny cutscene. There's an NPC in the game named Brigo who will stop you from jumping off of the bridge. This is actually a really nice attention to detail because this can be portrayed as a suicide prevention awareness. Other than the obvious Epona being in the game, there is one more secret horse in the game that you can find, and that is the skeleton horse. Those are a little bit more common than the other two horses that I mentioned in this video so far, but the main difference about this horse that makes him a little bit more special than the other two horses is you cannot actually register him in the stable. Whoever is running the stable, whatever NPC it is, he will tell you, heck no, we are not keeping this guy in here. He's gonna eat all the other horses. Aw, don't worry about it, little skelly horse. I'll still show you some love. Quick little spoiler warning, I am about to show one of the final bosses in the game, so if you do not want to see that yet, I would skip ahead in the video about 15-20 seconds, and you'll be right on to the next section of the video. So during the final part with Dark Beast Ganon, instead of using the light bow that you get, you can use the Twilight bow, and you can use the blade from your sword when you have full health. Va Naboris is stated in the game to be named after the Gerudo hero known as Naburo. Va Ruta is one letter off from Ruto, the Zora princess in Ocarina of Time. Va Rudina's name is an anagram of Darunia, the Goron leader in Ocarina of Time. Va Meadow might be a little bit of a stretch, but it could possibly be named after Medley, the Rito girl who helps Link in the Wind Waker. When you place a map marker down in the game, the scrolling text actually reads, "It's dangerous to go alone," a reference back to Zelda 1. The Oman Ao Shrine, I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that, but whatever. Anyways, it's an anagram of Anuma, who is the creator and the producer of the Legend of Zelda series. When activating a Sheikah Tower, the text that scrolls down and drips into the Sheikah Slate says, "Master using it and you can have this," which is yet another reference to Zelda 1. During the E3 build of the game, instead of the text saying "Master using it and you can have it," it instead reads, "Now loading, do not turn off your," and then it goes blank. But that's not the only thing that it says. It also says, "All your base are blank," which is actually a reference to Zero Wing and its terrible English translation, to which it says, "All your base are belong to us." On the collector's edition of the box, the Hyrulean text actually reads "The Hyrule Fantasy," which was the subtitle of the very first Zelda game. One of the most popular references in the game is the Ranch Ruins, which is an almost eye-to-eye recreation of the Lon Lon Ranch from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. However, in Breath of the Wild, it is a bit destroyed, but all of the main structures and buildings are still in the same spot as they were in Ocarina of Time, such as the racetrack and the big tower in the back. Yet another extremely obvious location in the game is the Temple of Time. It shares the same name and just about the same exact look as it does from the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. This may not be a reference, but more attention to detail, but did you notice that the flowers at the Master Sword location are in the same exact positioning as they were during its first debut in The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past? In Breath of the Wild, you can go river rafting, but it's not actually the first time we've seen this in the series. In the original Legend of Zelda game, you can also river raft. The Bridge of Hylia looks very similar to the Bridge of Eldin from Twilight Princess, and funny enough, both of the bridges overlook Lake Hylia. In Breath of the Wild, this is the first Zelda game in which we can freely change Link's outfits to however we want, and a lot of these outfits in Breath of the Wild are throwbacks to previous Zelda games. The old man that you meet in the beginning of the game is actually the same old man that you meet in Zelda 1, and funny enough, you both meet them inside of a little cave. Twin Peaks and the scene where Link looks off into the distance and sees the two mountains like this is a reference to Zelda 1 and the art that goes behind it. In the Japanese version of this game, it actually has a different logo than the traditional Legend of Zelda logo. This is only because this Japanese logo is the original Japanese logo from Zelda 1. I'm sorry if that's a little bit confusing, but it makes a lot more sense on screen. The location Spectacle Rock in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is actually a recreation of Spectacle Rock from the original Legend of Zelda game. In this location, it is where you can find the entrance to the very last dungeon in the game, which is Ganon's lair. If you attack the cuckoos too much, they'll start to attack you back and swarm you in big flocks. This is actually a reoccurring Easter egg in Zelda games, starting all the way back from A Link to the Past. This is an Easter egg that you can only do when you have full health, and I believe when you have the Master Sword fully powered up. But if you have it fully powered up and you go to throw your Master Sword, you'll get actually a little blade beam type of thing. This is a reoccurring thing in the Legend of Zelda games. I believe it started off in either Zelda 1 or A Link to the Past, but anyways, it's brought back in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, so give it a shot yourself. The Master Cycle 0 is actually an Easter egg within itself, because it's technically a reference to the Master Cycle in Mario Kart 8. Did you ever notice that while using the camera, sometimes objects far off in a distance will come up as a little question mark box? That question mark box is actually from the Mario series. There's actually quite a few people who think that Robin Williams is reincarnated in Breath of the Wild. One of these people that they think he is Robbie, because they both have the name Rob or Robin, and Robbie is actually kind of quirky like Robin Williams is. The more popular Robin Williams theory is him actually being Dato, and Dato actually speaks of the legend of the Lord of the Mountain. And if you don't know who that is, the Lord of the Mountain is a mythical creature who can be found on the top of Satori Mountain. His name is Satori, which is one letter off from Satoru. Satoru Iwata was the president of Nintendo who passed away a few years ago, but here he is now being reincarnated into Breath of the Wild. If you put on the trousers of the Hero of Time from the NES Link amiibo, you can see a little Octorok from the very first Legend of Zelda game on his pants. In the second DLC expansion, Champion's Ballad, you can notice the monks are all doing different poses. These poses actually all correspond to the poses that the 7 sages do in the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. But that's not the only secret poses that these monks have. If you notice the first 3 or 4 monks that you run into in the beginning of the game right on the Great Plateau, each of them are holding up a triangle pose in a different location. Well, if you take a look at them all side by side, they all make the Triforce symbol. Quick little spoiler warning, I am about to show one of the final bosses in the game, so if you do not want to see that yet, I would skip ahead in the video about 15-20 seconds, and you'll be right on to the next section of the video. During the final boss fight on the second DLC expansion, Monk Hazkoshia, I probably butchered that name very terribly, but anyways, if you drop some mighty bananas for him, he might get distracted. This is actually kind of a reoccurring Easter egg in some Zelda games, like for example in the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, you can use the fishing rod to distract Ganon during boss fights. So there's usually some sort of boss in Zelda games that are distracted by some sort of neat toy or object. So I'm not really going to be talking much during this section of the video because we are doing music references now, and I kind of want to shut my mouth so that you guys can hear everything in its entirety. While playing Tears of the Kingdom, did you notice that all the light routes and shines have pretty much the same locations? Or that all light routes are the same name as shrines, just spelled backwards? Or maybe that the depths is just the surface map but inverted. All mountains on the surface are caverns in the depths, or all canyons on the surface are big mountains in the depths. All stable locations on the surface, aside from a few, are lineal locations in the depths. Or that all goddess statues on the surface are Bargainer statues in the depths. Well, if you did happen to know these, then don't worry too much, because we have many more Easter eggs, secrets, and references to jump into with The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. But before we get into the video, make sure you all hit the subscribe button, because I make a ton of Easter eggs and secret videos on other Zelda games like Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and many others. I'm also planning on making more of these videos as well, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on those. Well, with all that being said, let's get back to the video. Did you ever notice that just about every single time that Link cooks a meal, he will hum a Zelda tune from a previous Zelda game? Here are a few examples. Do you remember where you met King Rome in Breath of the Wild? Well, let's go back to that same location and see what we find. Oh, look at that, it's the nostalgic fabric, the same design the paraglider in Breath of the Wild used. Speaking of Breath of the Wild, when speaking to certain NPCs while Link is naked, they will comment on it. One specifically is Paya. She will get embarrassed and tell you to cover yourself instantly. However, in Tears of the Kingdom, Paya won't even look at you, let alone speak to you, until you put some clothes on. Other NPCs will also make comments about how you're not wearing any clothes. But one NPC in particular, Hestu, has an interesting change from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom. In Breath of the Wild, he got excited how someone else besides him was naked. However, in Tears of the Kingdom, he makes no comment at all about it. But that's not all. If you go to Gerudo Town and take off all of your clothes, the guards will throw you in jail. Throughout Tears of the Kingdom, you can find these Divine Beast helmets. Well, if you put one on, the corresponding sage will also wear a similar helmet. Both Zelda and Ganon's horses make a return from Breath of the Wild. As well as Epona from previous titles. The first king of Hyrule, King Rauru, actually shares the same name as the Light Sage from Ocarina of Time, Rauru. You know Link's main ability in this game, the Ultra Hand? Yeah, well, the name in itself is a reference to Nintendo's very first toy they ever created back in the 1960s. Yeah, that's right. Before Nintendo was making games, they were making toys and playing cards. If you listen closely in this cutscene, you can hear an interesting sound coming from the Master Sword. That's right, if you've ever played Skyward Sword, you would recognize this as Fi's sound. Some people speculate that Fi from Skyward Sword could still be in the Master Sword. If you happen to go to a general store that sells milk and you take a closer look at the bottle, it is the same logo as Lon Lon milk from the Nintendo 64 games. A reoccurring ability in Zelda games ever since the very first one is when Link has full hearts, he can shoot a beam of light from the Master Sword. Not many people found this, but if you complete the Yiga Clan quest, then you will be rewarded with an Earthquake Manual, which gives Link a new ability to use. All throughout the game, Link is searching for Zelda, and while completing the main quest, you tend to catch glimpses of her here and there. But did you know of these secret instances? During the Dueling Peaks side quest with Pen mentions how the Yiga clan has kidnapped Princess Zelda and they're holding her hostage at the top of Dueling Peaks. Well, when you go there and free Princess Zelda, it turns out that it was actually just a Yiga clan member disguising themselves as her. And after obtaining all of the Yiga clan armor, you can return to the same cave where you first met the old man from Breath of the Wild. And here you can find Princess Zelda again. Talk to her while wearing the Yiga clan armor and she will say something funny. But if you take off the armor and talk to her, well, she will turn into a Yiga clan member and attack you. While playing through Tears of the Kingdom, you may have wondered to yourself, where are the Guardians from Breath of the Wild? Well, it seems as most of them have been repurposed for the Skyview Towers. However, did you know that there is still one out there in the wild? Well, kind of. If you take a look at the top of Hiteno's ancient tech lab, you can find the only full-body Guardian in the game. In Tears of the Kingdom, we have these new cherry blossom trees, and at each tree, if we drop any type of fruit in this little holder, a majestic creature will show you all of the cave locations in that area. But this creature is called a Satori, which even from Breath of the Wild, many people believed that the Satori could be a reference to Satoru Iwata, the former president of Nintendo, who passed away. Seeing as how the names are so similar to each other, I don't think this one's too far off. With Zelda games, it is a known rule that you do not mess with the chickens or the cuckoos because, well, this will happen. This has been an ongoing reference since A Link to the Past. Speaking of attacking NPCs, if you attack some of these NPCs who you have saved from monsters, they will eventually fight back and push you away. After completing all of Pen's quests, the Lucky Clover will tell you that Pen has left to go do some training at Wash's Bluff, and that he mentioned something about a famous bard. Well, if you go to Washa Bluff and talk to Penn, he has this to say. That's right, he references Cass from Breath of the Wild. When coming across these rock puzzles for Koroks, did you know that if you look in the direction of the missing rock, you can easily find the rocks instead of mindlessly searching around? When placing a map marker, if you translate the Hylian text to English, it says, "It's dangerous to go alone." A reference to the very first Zelda game with the old man in the cave that says, "It's dangerous to go alone, take this," and hands you a sword. So, does anyone remember the crazy flower lady from Breath of the Wild? Well, yeah, she's back. And this time, well, she's not as crazy about the flowers, but she is still pretty obsessed with them. And speaking of the crazy flower lady, did you know that if you visit Link's house in the Hiteno village, you can find a picture of her as well as Zelda's horse on the walls? Also, if you happen to have save data from Breath of the Wild's Champions Ballad DLC, you can find a picture of Zelda, Link, and all the champions. And if we read Zelda's diary, she mentions how she has a secret study. If we go into the well that's nearby the house, we can find Zelda's secret chambers and a headband that changes Link's hair back into his Breath of the Wild style. But what if you want to look even more like Breath of the Wild Link? Well, you can. By going into the depths and collecting 400 Poes, you can get the Runic of Memories, which is the champion's tunic from Breath of the Wild. But that's not all that Tears of the Kingdom has to offer. There are many more outfits in this game that reference other Zelda titles, like the Fierce Deity armor, Skyward Sword armor, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and many others. Going along with the clothes, however, is many weapons from the previous Zelda games, like the Big Goron Sword, the White Sword of the Sky, the Boomerang of the Wind, and many others. And lastly, there are so many other reoccurring Easter eggs in this game that came from Breath of the Wild, such as all the different landmarks referencing other Zelda games, music from previous Zelda games that play in specific locations,
Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we have the latest entry in the Legend of Zelda franchise with Echoes of Wisdom. As you already know, we'll be taking a look at all of the secrets and Easter eggs that are hidden away in this game. Well, with all that being said, let's jump right into it. Just like in other previous Zelda games, Zelda is yet again trapped in a crystal. Shortly after the showdown with Link, Zelda gets accused of making the rifts and is thrown into a prison cell. This could be a callback to A Link to the Past, to where we find Zelda in a prison cell. And right before we escape the castle, we run into Impa, who chats with us for a little bit and gives us a disguise to wear. When Zelda changes, she goes behind a statue, one that very much looks like the goddess statue from Skyward Sword. If you go back down the stairs where Impa is, it'll tell you that there's loud noises down there, implying that Impa's beating some ass. While walking around Castletown, you might have noticed a purple bird statue. This may be a reference to the save points in A Link Between Worlds. And while we stay in Castletown, if we check out what's inside of some of these houses, we can find a Pole's Voice, an enemy that's in the older Zelda games that usually had a unique way of being defeated. One of the first echoes you run into is this sign. Now, if we place down multiple signs and see what they all say, they usually have some funny things written on them, like this way and that way. Once you run into Link's Echo for the first time and defeat him, you'll be brought to Luberry's house, who we can clearly tell is a Sheikah because of the Sheikah symbol on his back and all of the decorations throughout his house. And while we're in his house looking at his decorations, look at this cow figure. Now, if you've ever played Majora's Mask, you would know that these are everywhere in that game. It's nice to see them reappearing here. You can also notice an eye that has arrows shot into it. This could be a reference to the same thing that's in Breath of the Wild, but most importantly, this was used in older Zelda games like Ocarina of Time for solving puzzles within temples and dungeons. Once you obtain Link's sword, it'll say his name is written on it. This is very similar to the Link's Awakening, to when you find his sword and it says his name is written on it. We can actually head over to Link's house to find some cool things here, like his hat, the same rug and the stump with an axe in it from Minish cap, potions, an owl statue, which is possibly from Link's Awakening or Majora's Mask, and lastly, this one might be a bit of a stretch, but there are 3 books that are red, green, and blue for the 3 different goddesses, or could be the same color of Link's from Triforce Heroes. And lastly, there's a couple costumes that are callbacks to other Zelda games, like the different colored tunics and the royal attire, but that's pretty much it. Unfortunately, that's the end of the video. I haven't found a whole lot of Easter eggs and secrets in this game, but if you guys happen to know of any, please let me know down below in the comments so that I can do an updated version of this video in the future. Also, let me know what you guys think of Echoes of Wisdom. If I had to be honest on this is probably one of my least favorite Zelda games. I didn't like the combat system. It felt like I would just sit there and wait for the enemies to die. It felt very repetitive trying to find all of Tree's friends over and over again. But what did you guys think? Did you guys feel the same? Or maybe you found it to be a cute one-off game? I'd love to hear what you guys think. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, comment, and subscribe. Well, with all that being said, I'll talk to you all in the next video. I hope you all have a wonderful day today. Wow, what a journey over the years. I mean, I'm still not done with Zelda videos. I'm hoping to have a few more done next year. I'll be working on the DS Zelda games and the Game Boy Color games. But aside from that, are there any other games or even game franchises you guys would like to see me cover? I'm open to ideas and hopefully will be branching out my content within the next few years. If you happen to stick around this long, leave a comment with your favorite Pokemon name and I might have a gift for you. Well, with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful year.